All right, welcome back to Extraordinary Unlocked. I am so excited to have our guest Megan Torres here. Let me just be honest, Megan is like a sister from another mister. When we first met, I'm like, we must be kindred spirits I've never met before. And it was so great connecting in person. And it was almost serendipitous how we got together. Megan was actually told to meet with me virtually, and I happened to be in Seattle for this event, and we were in the same event together. And when we met in person, I don't know how to explain it outside of it was absolutely magical. Had so much fun, and she took me around, introduced me to a ton of people. So, y'all, Megan Torres here today to share about her extraordinary unlocked story. So excited. Megan, will you introduce yourself to the extraordinary?
Yes, I am so happy to be here. It is true. We were two peas in a pod from the beginning, and it's such a great thing. I love virtual. A lot of my work is virtual, but the in-person magic, it can't be beat. And our meeting is a perfect example. I'm Megan Torres. I'm here in Seattle, Washington today. I have a history in healthcare. I come from a family of do-gooders, which really shaped the work that I do. So I can't really focus on doing things that don't help the greater good. So I've spent my career trying to have a big impact on the biggest issues that touch people.
I love that,
Yeah,
Megan. So, with every guest I have on the podcast, I always ask them, what was the first job you ever had?
I have the answer. Sometimes use this in an icebreaker for work. So you may have heard it.
No, I've never heard it.
Okay. The first job I had was in high school, and I was Cinderella at Tokyo Disneyland.
No way! Oh my gosh.
True story.
They must have been like, "This is the perfect" now, do you speak fluent Japanese?
I do not anymore. No,
Oh,
I try to practice whenever I can. My first couple jobs I had out of college, I went to college in Tokyo. My first couple jobs, I used it, both writing and obviously speaking. So I felt really good about it. But it has been 20 years since I used it for work. So I'm just conversational.
okay, well, Megan, this is something I found out right before we started recording. You grew up in Japan, and I had no clue until this moment. Could you tell us a little bit, how does someone from Tokyo Disneyland, Cinderella, which they must have been
Cinderella.
like, This person is the perfect person with the blonde hair, you're waving, you could speak Japanese." Can you tell us, how do you go from Tokyo Disneyland and then back into the States and
Yes.
doing what you're doing today? So can you tell us a little bit
Yep.
about your
Yeah.
journey?
My parents taught at international schools. So we were a family of four. I have an older brother that I'm very close with. He's just 20 months older than me. And the four of us would travel. We started in Indonesia. My parents taught there, kind of elementary, early middle school, and then middle school, high school. We were in Kobe, Japan. And then I went to college in Tokyo, came back to the States to graduate from University of Washington, which is just in my backyard here. And then I was here from Seattle. I went to DC, then Seattle again, then New York, and then now back to Seattle.
My gosh, so when
Yeah.
you graduated from college, so you did college in Tokyo, and then you came over to the States, and then was your
I
family?
graduated from University of Washington, which is great because my family was here. My brother and my parents had relocated here. So I graduated from University of Washington here in Seattle and then went straight away to DC because I was interested in international relations, and I worked for the Japanese Ministry of Finance in DC.
Okay, so how did you get that role? Did you just apply, or you knocked on the
Wow,
door and
now
just
you're,
like,
like, asking me to, like, remember things?
I know,
Okay,
I'm giving you the
wait, okay,
time
how did I
machine.
get okay, okay, here's a total Megan life path. My dad has said that, there is no bad choice in life, especially when you have created lots of opportunities for yourself. So here's a perfect there is no bad choice moment. I graduated. I wanted to go to grad school. I wanted to go grad school in DC. So I got a round trip ticket to DC, probably for a week. I was going to look at grad schools. I flew out with a suitcase and lived there for 4 years. I never came. I didn't I
Hold on.
didn't go to grad school then. I think I had a book. This is back in the day. I think I had a book, and I looked for jobs, and I translated for a law firm, translated legal documents for a law firm, and stayed in DC and met a woman who worked for the Ministry of Finance in Japan. and we did like risk analysis. And so I had done econ and I was like, oh, I'm perfect for this job. So that's how I got the job.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
So you was it a one-way ticket or a round
No, it
trip
was a
ticket?
round trip, and my parents will tell this story. They were just like, "What?" And I always say to them, I'm like, "This is we moved around, like, this is what you have created." So,
This is
yeah,
your not mine.
I know, exactly. I love adventure and moving, and it was great. DC's amazing. It is a city where everyone is so open because there's so much transition that
Mhm.
people are, like, make fast friendships, and they just kind of, like, live very out in the open because they might move in a year or your best buddy might move in a year. So the DC for me was just such a great place, wonderful people. Yeah, after the law firm did the Ministry of Finance gig and loved it.
Okay, so you go from the Ministry of Finance, which is a government job, and then
Japanese
what
government,
happens
yes.
yeah, so what happens after
Okay.
that?
Okay, if we do every leg of this, Eugene, this is gonna show how old I am, and this is gonna be a 6-hour podcast. So
Okay,
thank
okay,
you.
let's
Yeah.
keep it
No,
brief, let's keep it brief.
okay, I'll be very brief. You'll be very brief. Okay, then what was okay, here, kind of exciting move. So I'm living in DC. My family, my brother, my parents are in Seattle. I get approached by the pitching coach for the Seattle Mariners, James Colburn, who used to live in Kobe with me. His daughters went to school with me. And
Oh,
he said, "Hey, Megan, there's a chance they're going to sign a Japanese pitcher for the Seattle Mariners. Would you be interested in working with the Japanese media and the Japanese players?" And so I was like, "Yeah," signed him. He was an amazing pitcher, Sasaki, and moved cross country. And there was a little gap. World WTO was in Seattle. They were going back and forth signing him. So I worked at the WTO that happened in Seattle and then went to work for the Mariners, worked with Sasaki for year one. And then year two, Ichiro came and it was off to the races for them. I stayed with the Mariners for 5 years.
Megan, you seem so muted about like, "Yeah, I mean, I just, I got a
It was
job at the
great.
Demons and I signed."
There's no bad choice, man. There's no bad
And
choice.
and Megan, that's so amazing that you actually there was a pitcher, which I can't really remember who that pitcher was, and I think you named him, but then you became the person, I'm guessing the liaison for Ichiro.
There was so it's really cool at that like the Nintendo owns a pretty significant part of the Seattle Mariners. So there was this incredible, all this stuff. If there's executive alignment, if there's leadership alignment, it makes everything easier. So Seattle was one of the first clubs that really focused on Japanese players.
Yeah.
And the benefit of that was this amazing community of Japanese writers that would come to cover, certainly for Sasaki, and then the next year for Ichiro even bigger. And then it's huge, right? Like Major League Baseball had Matsui and all these other like
Yes.
Shohei now, all these
Oh, yeah.
incredible Japanese players, but this was early. And so we had the support from leadership at the senior level to really resource it, ensure that the Japanese media members had the same experience as the beat writers that were in Seattle day in and day out. And it was just a great experience.
That is absolute I had no idea
Yeah.
about that part either.
That's
Megan,
how I got in and okay, I won't do all the steps, but that basically that media contact, which was, for that 5 years, my whole life was orchestrating with the Japanese media and both Japanese speaking players and US speaking players and the other way around. The Seattle Mariner organization is the best in the business. And Tim Heavley, who is still there, and Kevin Martinez, who is still there, really supported ensuring that that relationship between media and players is done in a very intentional way. So it was a great 5 years.
that's amazing. So you do that, and I mean, it doesn't sound like you had a ton of experience doing that. You just almost like because you spoke the
No, I was
language.
nerdy. I was like, I went from doing risk analysis of like Mexico for, Japanese investors to working with media on publications that they were launching, stories they were doing, video clips, like TV. Like it was a crash course, like everything in really understanding the fundamentals of messaging, media relations, some crisis, all the good stuff, which is foundational, right? For moving on. Yeah. Executive positioning, messaging. It's like the same stuff I do day in and day out now.
Wow, so did you notice a spark in you, like, "I really love this stuff, and I wanna continue to
I
journey in this direction?"
It's funny, it less on the media for me, like, people usually look at my resume and they're like, "I can't get what you are." Like, I don't what's your through line here? And so usually for people until recently, the through line has been global and international. And
Mhm.
then most recently, I've been doing domestic US healthcare, so it kind of ends there. But going from like international finance to, international media to nonprofit organizations and global health, that would usually be the through line for people. So what excited me the most about Mariners was the international element more
Mm.
so than the audience, which was, the media and the public.
Got it, and so then you move on to this next role, and I think was that one based in New York City? Tell us a little bit about that. I know
I know, okay, where did I go? Yeah, no, I really want to do nonprofit. This is from the do-gooder family. So
good.
even the first year with Sasaki, I was like, you know what? I'm just going to do Tim, my boss, who I adore and is still a great friend. I was like, Tim, I'm going to do this for 1 year. I'm going to get you guys set, and then I'm going to go to nonprofit. And then Sasaki came the next year, and then I just couldn't leave. And so finally, I was like, okay, this is the fifth season. Um, I'll run like all playoff runs. Like it was the best time other than last year. It was the best time in Mariners history, in my opinion. And then I did do nonprofit and I went to a foundation that focused on child welfare, Casey Family Programs. And then that started a stint in nonprofit, focused more on global health. I really love global health, which is how I got back in to healthcare.
And so
And then,
was
yeah, New York move.
yeah, and so was there ever a time where you just notice in yourself like, "Man, I feel stuck," or, "I don't know if this is the right thing"? Because it sounds like the Mariners gig, you're like, "Well, it had its run, and then it was time to move on."
Yeah, I mean, I think without a family, I could do that job forever. I think I knew I wanted to do something that had a more direct impact on people in need. And I love the international relations element of it, but sports, as magical as it is, and it's a huge part of my life, it is entertainment. So I did it. The time came for me to like focus more on impact. As far as time where I was stuck, is more it was actually the role before we met each other. I was, in a health tech startup that I loved. Like, deeply believed in the mission, deeply. Was really giving myself to that work in a way that, was a bit unsustainable. So, I got stuck because I realized that work is not gonna love you back. And it was during a very magical for that business, hyper growth. We went on IPO, we, acquired several companies, so from a marketing and communication standpoint, it was like the Super Bowl. It's the other than the Mariner era, it is the the chapter in my career where I'm the most grateful for what I got to do. And then on a life stand front, I had, this COVID, 2 very small kids, navigating that. We were navigating some health stuff with our immediate family. And then also I'm a adventure endurance athlete. So I was like trying to qualify for a marathon time that was probably faster than I was doing. So it was this moment where I felt like I was I was pushing really, really hard on the work front and the life front. And that was when I felt the most.
Hmm, and what did you do? Like, because what you just described is the crucible moment of a job, a mission I'm all about.
Totally.
I'm giving
Totally.
all out, and the
Totally.
endurance stuff, hardcore. You got family reality really setting in and challenging, and so in that moment of stuckness, what do you do? What did you do?
I, actually like, it was burnout for me because also was learning that you can get burned out with things that you love. So I loved this organization and mission. I deeply love my family. I love adventure. So, for me, it was this reminder that, like, yes, you can burn out on goodness, there can still be stress on all these other levels. And I looked to my supports is a number one thing. And I part of this women's purpose community that I adore. And one of the things that I was given, Jess Joyce runs it. She gave this opportunity for us to think about some coping mechanisms, some deeply internal key to who you are, routines that may actually not be serving you. So I spent a lot of time unpackaging this one thing that is the thing for me. And Eugene, it's still a practice, so I haven't perfected it, but I realized that my worth for me was tied to what I produce. So I believed that a day was worthy if I had done and achieved these things. And that was very successful for me through my entire life. And I woke up in this moment of intense, like, work plus life plus chosen hobby and love where it didn't work anymore for me. I had qualified for Boston, which is this dream. I had gotten injured. I had a health issue, not me, but in my family that made me like realize and question what is important. And I was giving to this job that was so important, but wasn't like giving the love for me back. So it kind of like forced me to be like, okay, Megan, you are worthy not from what you produce, but you are worthy for being. I know that's woo woo, but it's like
No, not at
the
all.
okay.
It's
That's
not woo-woo at all. Like,
okay.
you're
Okay.
hitting on something so important. Finish your thought, please.
But so then I've just spent probably like for all the whole time we were together, in our past lives, and really just going inside and remembering, like at the core, who I am, getting in touch with that, and like it's an ongoing practice where if I am feeling like I got to do more to feel worthy myself, no one was doing this for me. I was doing it myself. That I need to pause and remember it's like inherently I am worthy at birth. And we all are inherently worthy by being.
It's a powerful statement, and I know when you use the word woo, because normally in the business context, you don't really speak on stuff like that. But I will tell you, every guest that I've had has an element of that. I even spoke to a friend of mine recently, was a leader, mid-level leader at a large pharmaceutical company, got laid off and actually went through a tailspin of depression. I mean, very transparently, just said, I was very depressed to the point where um, it was not healthy and had to seek out help. And it was tied to what you're talking about, this idea of my worth is found in my title, or my worth is found in my achievements, or my worth is found in whatever it could be, because there's so many things under the sun. And I think when we talk on this podcast of Extraordinary Unlocked, it actually starts there.
Hmm.
It's not what the, external, "Oh, these doors open,"
Yeah.
and I'll be honest, Megan, before in your earlier career, it was pretty much like, I'm gonna land somewhere, and I'm gonna open a door, and voila, like, something falls into my lap, and then someone calls me and says, "Hey, you wanna be this?" "Okay, sure, I'll come."
Turns out. Turns
But
out.
but at that moment where you felt the
Mhm.
most of the 3 greatest things, family, uh, your endurance sports, it came to a head, and so I'm so curious what happens next. So you've realized it, you've come to that awareness, and obviously it's still work in progress.
Yeah.
However, you made another step and you moved
Yeah.
in.
Yeah, and it's really the, supports. I mean, especially on the health piece for us and our family, it was a very sudden, surprising blindness on one eye of, my beloved husband, who I adore. And so it really did shake, and he's totally fine. We just had a chapter where we didn't know what it was, and he, went through radiation and, everything's fine. I mean, he won't ever
Yeah.
see from that eye, but it really so I turned to my supports, my dearest friends. I got a therapist for the first time, because it really was I was like, "This family that the center of it, the most important thing in my life is this man who has created this love that we have. Like this could he could be gone. So I therapist, I mean, I journal all the time. I meditate every day. I run. The thing that is my balancer also, if I go too far, is my inhibitor. But and I joined this purpose community. And then I also just make it a practice of witnessing when I feel like I physically know when I feel that feeling of I'm not producing enough. It's in my chest, and I just focus on if I feel it, and then the practice of pausing, witnessing, and then reminding myself that that's not, like, who I am, that I got that WMBR done, that I, like, wrote that doc and got it approved by leadership. Turns out that's not really who I am.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. And I
yeah.
love thank you for saying that because I think there are folks that do feel stuck and they feel that level of, am I worthy of X, Y, and Z? So I really appreciate your vulnerability. I mean, the power of community, it helps us through weather storms in our lives. I will say in 2020, I share this in a different podcast, but my mother got diagnosed with stage 4 pancreatic cancer out of nowhere, like literally nowhere. And during that time, I had actually started seeing a therapist. And let me tell you, and it wasn't because of my mother, it was just because I was going through some stuff. And my goodness, I'm so grateful I had that therapist, so grateful for the community around me that supported me through my mother's passing. And it was the love of my church community at that time just came as much as they could during COVID to surround me and support me. And so thank you for sharing so vulnerably. I resonate with all that you shared with.
Yeah, it really is. I mean, have your people, you have your supports, and you share that. I have 2 really dear friends that we physically don't live in the same place, but we all work together in New York, and one's in Arkansas, one's in Park City, I'm here in Seattle. We probably text every day, and we say this thing about the 3 of us where, you know, your happiest moments are happier in sharing it,
Yeah.
and your lowest moments are lighter in sharing, and it is like we have seen each other through all these highs and lows, and we do it together.
Yeah. And that's powerful. I think the extraordinary unlocked just that philosophy or that the reason why I came up with this is I just knew that every person has got this extraordinary inside of them and they
Mm,
can unlock that. But it doesn't always just say, well, I'm going to go figure it out myself and
yeah.
go off into the forest and say, you know what, I know what it is. But oftentimes it is that community that comes around us that helps us gain the courage to overcome fear, to really live into our calling. And I wanted to
Mhm.
ask, and in this chapter where you're at today, what you're doing today, what's it like living into your calling and doing what you're doing?
I think, I mean, I just started over again. I'm 2 months into a new role. I love the start over. I love the begin again, and it's tied to, like, all this I feel like is what we decide we're gonna pick from our childhood.
Mm,
And this is something that I have picked from, moving around a lot, exposing myself to different experiences. And the beginning of something is so great because it really has this, like, you're starting over. I'm also deeply motivated and by curiosity, and I love being on the steep side of the learning curve. So it's all that in one really condensed chapter, but it's also exactly when the thing that I love, exactly when kind of this old behavior of wanting to, like, produce. Have I done enough when I turn off the computer at night? Like, is this enough stuff? Really
mm,
can, like, bring its, like, ugly little head up. So it's like the beginning of something is so great because it's more. I am practicing more in these 2 months than I did in my last 2 years when we were together, just because it's so new. And I
Yeah.
think for me on the picking of this health tech company, I'm at with Kiram, and we are focused on substance abuse and surgery and cancer, so specialty care. It is directly aligned with my mission, purpose, focus, which every role that I've had has that. So it's directly aligned. And then the people piece. It's like, Eugene, if I had a chance to work with you again, I would do it in a heartbeat. And there were two individuals that at this current company that I worked with at Accolade. And so the people were aligned. The problem is really important. Businesses spend so much on specialty care, and it's a chance to like help people.
Yeah. And I love that you're able to get super clear what your mission is and what you want to accomplish, and you're able to share that. Like I had so much joy. Like we didn't have a ton of time working together, but anytime we did,
Oh,
we had a ton of fun.
we did. We did. And you know what I noticed? In a place that didn't index for fun, we attracted fun people.
We sure did.
The people that we then worked with were like, if you're going to be with this crew, you're going to work on this project,
Yeah.
you better have a good time.
That's
Yeah.
right. We're always, I know that if you're on the list and I'm on the list, we are going to definitely have a good time doing.
Your listeners should know there was one risk and somewhat unfair thing I did with our partnership at work that turned out aces. I think I told you I wanted to co-facilitate an
Yeah,
offsite with you
that's
a
right.
week before,
Yeah, 100%. It was one
maybe
week.
3 days.
Yes, no, it was one. It was definitely 1 week. We're
Okay,
like,
one
we're
calendar
gonna
week.
do it. Sure, let's do it.
We did one planning call.
Yeah, I
We did async, like you do this, I do this, but it
yep,
was perfection.
yes, it was great. And it's
One of
because
our participants said it was the best offsite they had ever been to.
I had not heard that. Well, I'm not surprised. You definitely bring the magic. When you show
You
up, it's
do.
magical. It's great. I so much joy working together, and thank you so much for sharing on this pod. Like what you shared, I would say so important. This idea of self worth. The idea, because oftentimes with careers, you are equating self-worth with what's my title, what's my pay, what am I doing? But let's just be honest, there's so many people out there that have a big title, big pay, they're miserable. They really don't like what they do, but almost have the golden handcuffs of, well, I can't get out of this thing. The salary's too good. I got a great title. I'm not happy, but my bank is full. But I think that's so true that when there's alignment to your mission, when there's alignment to this through line throughout your career of just, I want to, and you call it do gooder, I
Do
want
gooder.
to bless those. I want to do good to those that are around me and be at an organization that's trying to do that. And I think that is what unlocks extraordinary, that there's that symmetry, alignment to that. So, Megan, thank you so much for
This was such a
sharing your
treat.
story. It is so awesome. I do have this lightning round where I ask.
Hands on buzzers. I'm ready.
All right, okay. Well, first, I did know about the Seattle Mariners thing. I dug into that part, and I wanted to know what was like one of your highlights of working at the Mariners, because I knew you were there during the Ichiro era, which is
Yeah.
profound for Seattle.
I mean, I because there were playoff runs every season I was there, that was pretty magical. The All-Star game, not the most recent one, but the
Oh,
first was there. I really love that. Seattle shined just as they did whenever it was 2 years ago or when they were here. That was a really magical moment. But I would say like the thing I'm most proud about was again, because that time that it was so long ago that this was new. What Seattle was doing with this group of international media and not treating them like a pool reporter, but really treating them like beat reporters connected to the club was so new that Major League Baseball had Seattle's example be part of how they grew across Major League Baseball. So that I think was the single coolest thing. And it just happened to be slice of life, like when I happened to be there, so it was lucky.
it's so cool. I mean, now Japanese
Yeah.
players like Shohei Yamamoto, they're like
Yes.
household names.
Totally.
And I am gonna totally out my mother-in-law. She has a huge crush on Shohei. All she does, she never, my whole marriage, being married 20 years, never talked about sports, period. All she talks about is Shohei.
I tell you, we were just in Japan in December, not this, but last December. Like he's literally everywhere, every single ad, everything. I mean, he's so remarkable. There's nothing like that kind of ability, pitching and hitting. Gosh,
Yeah, and humility. The guy has the
humor, humor.
yeah,
Also,
yeah,
he is
so funny.
funny.
He's funny, for sure.
So
Okay,
funny. He hasn't asked me to come work with him, but if you know
I hope
anyone,
you get that call so
I
that we can
know,
hang out. I
I
can
know.
definitely help do something. I
Cool,
will
cool.
clean the
We'll
bathroom.
get him on your podcast. It'll be great. I'll translate. He can talk. It's gonna be
There
great.
you go.
Yeah.
The next guest, Shohei Ohtani. Let's speak it into existence.
Done. Done.
Okay. So when we first met, I remember it was one of the first times I was in Seattle, and you recommended that I go to the local In and Out joint called, I think it was like
Dick's Burgers.
Dick's Burgers. Yes, and I tried that and it was great. And I wanted to ask you, what is your Seattle fare, like your Seattle food that you're like, man, any tourist that comes here outside of Dick's Burgers, what would you recommend to them?
Dick's Burgers, first off,
Okay.
is a point of contention in my family. So my husband is from California. We met in Seattle where he went to grad school. And then we have lived in New York together and back here. We have two incredible sons. And he has somehow convinced my boys that Dick's has terrible fries and that In and Out is better.
That is deeply ironic because everyone hates the In and Out fries. So
And
many people.
I tell you, like this, we fight about it. We fight about it.
That's too funny. All right.
But where would I tell people to go?
Yeah.
I got a spot. Like it's great if we have tourists coming in. There are kind of two spots that we recommend. But I'll since it's summertime, I'll give you this one: Ray's Boathouse. Ray's Boathouse is on the water in Seattle. It is a fixture. You have beautiful views of the water, boats coming in. The food is amazing. If the weather is bad, I would send you to Post Alley and Pike Place Market, and you could go to the Pink Door. Those would
Okay.
be my spots. Yeah,
All right.
yeah.
Love that. Okay, last question. What is your next endurance race?
I already know. September 12th, I'm doing Swim Across America. I've done the mile. I've done the half. I'm gonna do the 2 mile open water swim. There's like living things in there and monsters and everything.
2 miles?
We'll see. Speaking of existence,
All right,
Shohei will be here after I swim my 2 miles, and we'll be talking about this. It's so much fun. It's for cancer research. It's like an amazing event. Actually, I swim with an Amazon team. I have for the last couple of years. Yeah, it's 2 mile open water swim, easy breezy.
well, Megan, thank you so much. If anyone wants to get in touch with you and just get to hear some more about your story or just learn about more about you, how did they do that?
Um, Torres Megan on all the socials. Unless you want to do the endurance one, and then my endurance handle is Dirt Glitter.
I like it.
And then I'm on LinkedIn. You can send me a message. I love to talk about people's stories and hear where people are coming from.
Love that. Well, y'all, thank you so much for listening. Megan, thank you for being on the pod. Shohei will be here next after you finish your 2 mile swim, and we're going to make it happen. So
Love it.
thank you. Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much for your time. All right. We'll talk soon,
See
everybody.
ya.
Bye.
Bye.